in my 21 years of living. Yes, I'm 21. I know I don't look it, but you know what they say, black don't crack. I have never read a book better than the Quran. This is the only book I've read that leaves me starstruck every time I open up a page. The only book that gives me the desire to learn and understand as much as possible. And I'm someone that read a lot of books growing up, so I know exactly what I'm talking about. However, that wasn't always the case. I want to share my story to hopefully inspire and possibly even make an impact in someone's life. I'm going to keep this as real as possible because we are getting down to the nitty-gritty of how I became someone who struggled deeply with the Quran, never really had a solid relationship with it, to where I am now. Without further ado, this is my journey with the Quran.
On this side, we are just passing by. Like a river from the mountain, and never can water turn back to the town.
Quick on the count of three. As a young Muslim, where is the #1 place for you to learn the religion? Madrasa! Oh, Duxi for the Malis. I'm not even Somali. Forehead kind of insinuates it though.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Growing up, I was shy. I had a major stuttering problem, and it took me a while to understand basic things. In short, I was slow. So teachers were going to be impatient of me regardless of the effort that I put in, which I did put in, by the way. At the time, we were doing madrasa in houses with a bunch of other kids that lived nearby the neighborhood. Hey, I know my early 2000 babies will relate to that. You 2010s missed out on peak life experiences. Oh, the good old days. Oh. What made it even worse, I was such an emotional kid growing up. You know when the ustad has to constantly correct you because you keep on making a mistake on a certain ayah? Let me give you an example. Budu. 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 I've had enough. You better stop! Honestly, that would finish me. I'm talking tears going down on the pages, bogies coming out my nose because I just kept getting it wrong. Like, I was so bad at Quran and Islamic studies in general, I had no choice but to study from home. I know you can't repay your mother no matter what you do, but wallahi billahi ta'ala, my mum deserves the best of both worlds. Especially at the time, she had a lot going on her plate. The fact that she was teaching me during this period as well, insane. The amount of time she had to take out despite her situation just to help me, mind-blowing. To reiterate, I got kicked out of madrasa because I was slow. So it was my mother teaching me the basics at home. Now, for those who are feeling behind, whether that be you only know a few surahs by heart or whatever it may be, let me tell you what my mum had to do in order for me to understand the Quran. تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب تبت ta like a drum, ta like a drum. And for the ba like a sheep. Remember Shaun the Sheep, your favorite show? Ba تبت يدا أبي لهب وتب. The fact that I'm saying some big YouTube, nah, I'm violating myself to inspire you guys. Wallahi, you guys better be motivated to pick up the Quran after watching this video. I'm actually so embarrassed. If you're struggling with the Quran, trust me, there are people out there way worse than you. That's why you have to look at those below you rather than above you. This was going on for a long period of time. But surprisingly, the method actually worked. Me reading the Quran with my mother made me fall in love with the Quran. I was going out of my way to practice without being told. That's when you know you're serious, because let's be honest, as a kid, you're only reading Quran when you're in madrasa if your parents are telling you. That wallahi, I was in the lab, I was literally making Quran like it was music, like it was my music. People be like, have you heard that banger Kendrick dropped on Drake? Bro, I was like, yo, you heard me Shawi al-Afasi? Or maybe even a throwback, Abdul Basit, Abdul Samad, bro. I was like, boom, boom, with the Quran, boom, boom, with the Quran, you know what I mean? I was like, but with the Quran though, you know what I mean? And now fast forward, I'm at a new madrasa with a brand new mentality. I'm at a new madrasa now, a whole different environment. I was so used to doing madrasa in houses, it felt like a rags to riches story when I moved up into a community centre. I'm here now. By the grace of Allah, I'm reading a lot better than I was before. The Tajweed 1010, the confidence is there. It's just everything you need in a reciter. And people started to notice. People were talking.
Oh my God, subhanallah, the little boy. My God, subhanallah. Ya Allah, grant my son to be just like him. Ya Allah, subhanallah.
I'm glazing myself like crazy. I'm not saying I'm reading Salah in Saudi good, but I'd consider myself to be adequate at best. One day I was asked, do you want to be put in hifz? Without hesitation, I said yes. Do you not understand how much good DJ can rack up by understanding and memorizing this book all going in the dome? I said yes. Mind you, I have never done hifz in my life. Alhamdulillah, I'm good when it comes to reading by looking, but hifz was a whole different level. And what I thought at the time, I thought they would teach you, then you go practice, then you come back to read. But now, they just test you, you go. You test you, you go. He's memorized 10 juz, he's memorized 5 juz, he's memorized 15, 20. I'm still on juz amma.
Damn. I'm sorry.
They notice this, so then I get kicked out. I get major PTSD because I'm thinking, is this literally not what happened before? I didn't get kicked out because I was messing about or because I didn't practice. I genuinely did try my hardest, but simply because I'm not on the same level as everyone else, I get kicked out. I'm not one to get angry, but I was furious. What made it even worse is that I had a horrendous iman slip at the time during secondary school. This was around year 10. And a lot of family issues. You know, I'm not going to get into too much detail, but to keep things short, my relationship with the Quran was so bad I decided to collect dust.
Astaghfirullah.
My relationship with the Quran was gone. Hey, why y'all crying, bruh? I had a bit of an amended, patented, hey, story for another day. I can't lie, you guys are getting no story. Sorry, not sorry. Fast forward, I'm in year 11 now. I leave madrasa to focus on GCSEs, but there's a problem. I can't just abandon everything I've learned, everything I went out of my way to work towards. My mum can't teach me because she's busy, and I've got no one else to go to. But if you've been watching my videos recently, you know I see something very vital. If you want to find a good spouse, you gotta use the parents and the aunties, they know everyone. Parents, aunties and uncles know everyone. They are the plugs, the connections, the network, everything. It just happens so. My mum's friend's cousin, I think, happens to be an ustada, and may Allah grant her to the highest rank of Jannatul Firdaus. She would go out of her way to teach me every day after school, free of charge. Like, who is doing that during this day and age? Let's not lie, man. When you want an ustada, you gotta pay a little bit, you know what I mean? The stuff out here. I'm not blaming them, you know, it's a hustle at the end of the day. I did not mess around. Free Quran lessons, I was going in, I was making sure I caught every single day after school. Alhamdulillah, we read together until I finally finished the Quran, by looking of course. So I finished the Quran when I was 16 years old. Y'all better make dua for Auntie S, because everything Quran related I've ever shared, whether that be during my TikTok days, here on YouTube, or just in person, all the wisdom came from her. She helped me so much with my tajweed, my pronunciations, what Quran was to listen to really understand and get a grasp of the Quran. It all came from her. I gotta keep the name anonymous because she just low key like that. I want everyone here down in the comments to give a big old Asante Sana Auntie. And me too, Auntie, thank you very much. I very appreciate what you've done for me. Imagine leaving madrasa to focus on GCSEs, doing all of that revision just for it to be cancelled. You guessed it, COVID-19 hit. But at the time, I genuinely used to think that lockdown was a barakah. I had no awareness and I didn't really care less what COVID-19 was doing out there. But wallahi, inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, for all the Muslim brothers and sisters that have passed away. I was only thinking about becoming a better Muslim. I was so obsessed with the idea of becoming the best Muslim I can possibly be. I kid you not, I was moving like a nitty for deen. As crazy as that sounds too. That's genuinely what it felt like I was experiencing. I was becoming an extremist without even realizing. Now listen, too much of anything will always be bad for you, even if it's considered good. Water is good for you, but too much water can drown you. Exercise is good for you, but without the proper rest and recovery, you can really damage your body. People say there's no such thing as too extreme in Islam, but I agree to disagree. As we mentioned, I just came out of a really bad iman slump. So I was so fixated on doing the most to get myself a clean slate after a life of jahiliyyah. But I was doing too much. I was out here saying stuff like, forget exams, forget GCSEs. Allah isn't going to ask about it on the day of judgment, is he? Hey! Do you want to be homeless, Najim? And another thing I used to do, which astaghfirullah al-azim, I regret to this day, is advise aggressively. At the time, I thought I was doing the right thing to call out people when they're doing haram. If all you're doing is going out there saying haram, haram, haram to people, well, it's just going to go through one ear and out the next. I had to understand prioritization. I've said this in countless videos. The deen is in fact a lot more important than the dunya, but you can't just neglect and abandon the dunya. We need time for this and time for that. Yes, the Quran and Islam is important, but it's not the only thing to be worrying about in this life. I'm telling you, it was so bad to the point I felt my brain oozing because I was just too fixated on deen. And especially at the time, COVID got me thinking, the day judgment's already about to begin, so there's no point in focusing on anything else but deen. It was just deen. Like, I was moving nuts. I just had to the point I just burned out. Like, I felt like doing nothing. It was just Netflix, bro. Netflix just in a slump. But then I just really had to just think. Yes, deen is important, but you can't get the akhirah without using the dunya. By the time I was managed to able to prioritize what's right and still do things that aren't Islamic, but they're still good, it's just about not letting those things distract you from practicing your deen. This isn't just a book to read because we're Muslim. This is the book of life. Hey, I'm not talking about the film. I mean, it was a pretty good film, but we're talking about the Quran right now. Lock in. This is literally the book that will save you from Jahannam. The book that you can read whenever you're sad, happy, angry, whatever emotion, this book will always come in clutch. And the point I forgot to mention previously is that we aren't reading the Quran to prove to people that we can read the Quran. At the time, that's what I was feeling, because everyone was doubting me, so I just wanted to prove them wrong. But I'm not reading it for them, I'm reading it for me. Allah doesn't care about how much you know, it's all about the effort. Allah only looks at the effort. We're reading the Quran because Allah legislated that upon the Ummah. So let's all make the effort to get that Firdaus bag.